Okay, this is Unit 6, Lesson 3, vocabulary review. The rate for 1 unit of a given quantity is a, who's got that answer? Go ahead.
Unit rate.
It's a unit rate. Okay. Find the quotient of fractions. Who can refresh the class's memory on how we find the quotient of two fractions? Teray. Keep, change, flip. Can you explain to me what is keep, change, flip?
You keep the first fraction and then you change the sign to multiplication, then you flip the second fraction.
Okay, flip the fraction. We have an actual math vocabulary word for that. What is it? Do you remember?
Reciprocal.
It's the reciprocal. So we're going to keep the first fraction. We're going to change the operation from division to multiplication, and we're going to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. So what does this become, Teray?
9/2.
You get 9/2. Okay, so 3/5 times 9/2. And when you perform this operation, what do you get back? 27 over 10. And can we rewrite that another way? 2 and 7/10. Very good. Did everybody get that? Any questions about it? Okay, who can explain to the class number 3? Walk me through number 3. Volunteer? Yes, go ahead.
So first you have to find the reciprocal for 2 9ths,
Okay.
which is 9/2.
So we're going to take the reciprocal of 2 9ths, and that's 9/2. Okay, what else?
So then you have to do 1/3 times 9/2.
1/3 times 9/2. Very good. So keep, change, and then flip. Keep the first fraction, change the operation to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay, so perform the operation. What do you get back?
I got 9/6,
Okay, and what does that reduce to?
and that can be 1/2.
Okay, so 9/6, which is 3/2, or you can recognize that 9/6 and go directly to 1.5. Are we good? Okay. Rayhan, do you got the next one?
Yeah, before that, you can also cross cancel.
Right, you can cross cancel. Yes, the 9 and the 3 could have canceled out. There's several ways that we could have done that. Okay?
So number 3, first you have to change the division sign to multiplication.
Right, we already covered that one. So do you want to explain number 4 to us?
Okay, for number 4, it's 2/3 divided by 7/8. So first change the division sign to multiplication.
All right, this becomes multiplication. What else?
And then 7/8 becomes 8/7.
So we take the reciprocal and we get 8/7. So 2/3 times 8/7. And then what does that simplify to? Or what do we do? What do we get when we perform that operation? 16 over 14, are you sure? 16 over 21. And can we simplify that any further? Nope, we're good. Okay, this one, a little tricky, but not really. Justin, you want to explain this one to us?
Well, first you change the mixed number into a proper
We're going to turn this into an improper fraction. So what is the improper fraction to that?
proper fraction is 11 halves.
11/2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the division of these two fractions. What do we get back when we perform this division?
Well, then you change the division sign to multiplication sign.
Okay, so this becomes multiplication. We keep the first fraction, but what's the reciprocal of this of 5.5 and a half going to be?
The reciprocal is going to be
2 over 11. Very good. Okay, so perform the operation. What do we get back?
Well, I cross canceled.
Okay, so you cross canceled this. What cross canceled for you?
I cross canceled the 2 and the 7.
Cross cancel the 2, and if you cross cancel 2 from 10, what are you left with?
Well, I'm left with 5.
5. So then you get 5 times 11, and then 1 times 1. So what does that become?
Well, I got 155.
155. If you didn't cross cancel like Justin was talking about, you would get 2 over 110, and then you divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. Gives you 1 over 55. Got it? Pretty easy review. I feel like everybody's felt really comfortable with this material today. So let's go to what we're working on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read this to you since I'm trying to make the lesson video from it. What you'll learn: to find unit rates and unit costs using whole numbers and decimals. To find unit rates from data expressed as fractions. Now here is the Common Core standard. So 7, what do you think 7 stands for? 7th grade. What do you think R and P stands for? Ratios and proportion. And then this is the first standard they want us to know for ratios and proportion. There's a couple others, but 7th grade, ratios and proportion, first standard. Compute unit rates associated with ratios of fractions, including ratios of length, areas, and other quantities measured in like or different units. So yesterday we had an example. The flag, we had to determine if it was an official U.S. flag, right? And so in order for it to be an official US flag, do you guys remember that the length and the width had to have a specific ratio? So we already did some of this yesterday. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be converting we're going to find these unit rates. Okay, so for the first example, Cindy walks 6/10 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour. Over that distance, what is her speed in miles per hour? So the way we would solve this, miles per hour, remember per is another way of saying divide, miles divided by hours. So that's a big clue on what we're doing. Can you guys go ahead and perform this operation? 6/10 of a mile divided by 1/4 of an hour. Bokar, can you explain this problem to us? Can you walk us through the solution? Right, so we're going to turn this into multiply. What else? Very good. We're going to find the reciprocal of 1/4. And what is the reciprocal of 1/4? 4 over 1, right? And then is that all? We're changing and we're finding the reciprocal. What else do we have to do? Right, we have to multiply by 6/10. So we keep the first fraction, change the operation, find the reciprocal. Can you simplify that for me? What's that going to become when I multiply that out? 20 over 10? Right, equals 2 2/5. But if you didn't simplify that beforehand, you got 2 4/10, right? Because 10 goes into 24 twice with the remainder of 4. And 4/10 simplifies to 2/5. And you can, of course, cross cancel, but we're not going to get into the many different ways. Does everybody understand how we got to our answer? Okay, if you had a different solution and it got to the same place, then I'm okay with that. Okay? All right, moving right along. That was the first example. Now I need you to find the unit rates for these two examples here. So take some time, find the unit rates. Yep. You guys have the clipboard? Did you guys not get it?
No.
Just take the pass. Who's got this first one? Can I get somebody who I haven't heard from yet? Yes. Go ahead. What are we doing first? Okay, so first what we're going to need to do is we need to divide. So what are we dividing? So you're going into how we get to our answer. What are we doing first? What are we dividing? Right, we're going to divide 3/10 by 3/4. Okay, so now get into the how. Right, so division becomes multiplication. What else? Reciprocal of 3/4. What's that going to be? Right, so here we got 3/10 times 4/3. And what do we get back? Nice. Nice, so we simplify that to 2/5 miles per hour. Make sure you guys are labeling this. If you get this far and find the correct fraction, great. But if you want full credit, you need to label the units. 2/5 miles per hour. Got it? Okay. So is there anybody that wants to volunteer to explain the second problem? Goldis, go ahead.
Okay, so you have to 7/8 divided by half.
7/8 divided by half, yes.
And it changed into 7/8 times 2 over 1.
Very good.
And then I cross cancel with 8 and 2.
Okay, so you got rid of a factor of 2 between the 8 and the 2. So what does that leave over here in the bottom?
A 4.
A 4, and this becomes a 1. So what you end up with, when you multiply that is 7/4. Now, if you didn't cross cancel, what you'd end up with is 7 times 2, 14, 8 times 1, 8, right? But when you cross cancel, you're just doing the steps in a different order, right? Because if I end up with this, I would divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, and I get 7/4 anyway. Do you guys understand the thinking behind cross canceling? Okay, so what's my final answer, Goldus?
1/3/4.
Okay, make sure we label our units. What's our units going to be?
Minutes.
Not just minutes. Help her out. Containers per minute. Okay, because we're dividing, so containers divided by minutes, container per minute. Miles per hour. Got it? Okay, make sure we label our answers correctly. Okay, moving along. Last 2 problems, and we're done with our lesson. Scale factors. Now, anytime you have a map, you're going to have a key. The key tells you if you were to place a ruler on the map, what would each length of measure represent at full scale? So in this case, 1/4 of an inch on this map represents 5/8 of a mile in real life. Does that make sense? You guys understand that? Now, what the question's asking is how many inches on the map equal 1 mile? They want to know what is the unit scale for 1 mile in inches. What is it going to be? So if you guys can set that up and solve it, we've already done a number of examples, so hopefully you guys have a good idea of what you're supposed to do. Ben, can you walk me through this one?
So since 1/4 equals 5/8,
Right, since 1/4 of an inch equals 5/8 of a mile, what are we doing?
you have to do division.
We're going to divide, and so what are we dividing?
1/4 by 5/8.
So we're going to divide 1/4 by 5/8. Okay, and then what do we do in order to divide these fractions?
You keep the first number, you change the division sign to multiplication.
Keep the first fraction, change the division to multiplication, and then what?
And then write the reciprocal of 5/8.
Yes, what's the reciprocal of 5/8?
8/5.
8/5. So I got 1/4 times 8/5. And then, do you have a question about this? Almost done. Last one. What's this going to be? 8/20. Is that my final answer? No, we got to get it in simplest form, and then we got to label our units. So what's it going to be in simplest form? 2/5, and then what are the units? Inches per mile. Are we good? Any questions? Okay. Can you guys go ahead and do this last problem, and that's going to wrap up our lesson for the day. Yes, already. So Nicole, can you walk us through this when you're done? Okay, Nicole, what am I doing first?
So, I would think that I would have to, simplify, figure out how.
Look at how we handled the last problem. Okay, so I've modeled them for you. We've had your peers explain it to. Use the same strategy. What are we going to do here? Can somebody help her out? Jonathan, can you give her a hint? What are we doing? What are we going to divide? Right. So here's what we need to do. We need to divide these 2 units. Nicole, can you finish it up? Now that you know what the first step is, the setup. What's the next step?
You shall,
Reciprocal of what? Okay, so tell me what keep, change, flip means. Tell me what to do.
So for the first one, you keep it, and then
First one, which is what?
the fraction.
First fraction, so we're going to keep the first fraction, yes.
And then for the operation,
We're going to change the operation from division to multiplication, very good, and then what?
and then for the second fraction,
The second fraction, we're going to flip it, and we have a math vocabulary word for that. What is it? We're going to take the reciprocal of 2/5. And what is the reciprocal of 2/5? 5/2. Very good. Nice. So can you go ahead and perform this operation now that we've rewritten division as multiplication? What's it going to be?
I can easily do it in my head.
Okay, so what is it?
It's 5/8.
Nice. It is 5/8. And then remember, we only get partial credit at this point. To get full credit, we need to label our units. What are the units going to be?
Unit okay, so the unit will be how many inches? Wait, inches per mile.
Nice. Inches per mile. Very good. Okay, and that is the end of our lesson.